Hello and welcome, my fellow blue veins. Now, I know it has been a long time, at least in the YouTube world. I'm a busy mom, wife, and entrepreneur, but I promise I'm trying my best. And I don't want to just make random videos. I'm trying to wait for stuff that really resonates. So basically, something happened this past weekend that made me realize, okay, I need to go ahead and make this a series because this has happened just far too many times. And it's its own long-running set of experiences. So, I kind of skirt the lines of controversy, so not to be too controversial, but I call this series Tales of an Incognegro. Now, why do I say that? Well, I'm trying to remember where I actually heard that word the first time. I thought it was genius. I was like, that's the perfect way to describe what it's like when you have Black ancestry, especially if you were raised among Black family, and therefore you have a lot of that experience coded within you and in your memories, but yet you move through the world and nobody knows that, nobody sees that, everybody assumes something else. And yes, I'm aware that mixed race people are not Black and therefore do not have the Black experience, but you know what I mean. When you grow up with Black people and, a lot of that rubs off on you. And so, yeah, we might not have the same experience by far, but it's almost like you go through the world feeling like, does anybody know? And it's almost, I imagine it sounds strange from anybody on the outside, but you would have no idea just how starkly different treatment can be when one is perceived as Black versus non-Black. And I may have said this in another video, but I very much live my life right on the color line. So really, depending on the season, the way I'm wearing my hair, anything like that, I'm coded as different ethnicities, and my Blackness can be more apparent sometimes than others. And so very much incognegro, it feels like sometimes. And in this part of the world, I'm in the US, but I moved very far from a liberal epicenter to it's conservative country, and sometimes it seems like Klan country. I'll just say that. I've definitely talked to my Black family members, and they were warned for sure coming out here. Now, not my exact town. My town's chill, but it's just some of the surrounding areas. So, and actually I had my family over for one of the past holidays. I'll have to get into some more story times. Really, there's just a lot. It's been very hectic. But so getting back to this part one, this first tale of an incognegro. Now, this is not my first incident, but it's just once I'm kind of working backwards. So a little backstory. I love history and antiquing. And at one point, I was in fact an African American history major in college. I ended up changing that, not by choice. This is a whole other story, but the chairman of the department was extremely forward with trying to get with me, and it became a problem. And I just, when it was realized by him that I was not at all interested, that's when my grades started to suffer for no reason. And I just ended up dropping entirely the major because he was the head of the entire department. So in the end, it worked out. I fell into a different career that I loved. And for many years, in fact, I've been now a stay-at-home mother. But at the time, I was very much vested in being, African-American history, professor I was actually going to go for. So all of that sort of thing is my wheelhouse. And part of my antiquing is I collect Black Americana. negrobilia, as they call it sometimes, or at least that's what Whoopi Goldberg calls it. And it's actually not strange. Most collectors of Black Americana or negrobilia happen to be Black or Black descendant. In fact, the biggest collectors are people similar to myself, mixed race, whether they identify it as it or not. You can tell by looking at them, mixed race people who are pretty ambiguous. So I think the lady who had the largest collection of Black Americana, like in the world, she was like in New York City, she looked to be a mulatta or even more ambiguous. And the man who runs the Jim Crow Museum, and started the largest, I guess, public collection, is also a mulatto appearing man. So this is not strange, although some people probably don't like those collectibles and they're seen as very controversial. Now, the entire Black side of my family knows about my collectibles. They've seen them. They don't care. In fact, they had stuff like that when I was a kid too, like the old Aunt Jemima stuff and, all that kind of thing. So in my new locale, I have found a few antique shops that I really like, that I've been frequenting, that seem to have more of the things that appeal to me. And it's funny because I'm very much aware, extra aware, of being an incognegro when I go to buy these things, because a lot of these antique shops are in rural white towns, and I show up looking not white, but also not Black, and they are just not sure what to think. And in fact, I have accidentally passed as white among these types, so I have no idea what these people think. I don't ask. They don't ask. Sometimes they do anyway, but not this time. So I'm at my favorite antique shop, and the shop owner and his colleagues, they're all older white people, probably in their 60s and 70s, and very country, very friendly. Oh, they love talking our ears off, and very pleasant. So I'm there and I'm looking around, and I happen to find a new version. Like, these were mint. They were Aunt Jemima and Uncle Moe's salt and pepper shakers from the 1940s, and they were absolutely perfect. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's amazingly rare. I'm going to go ahead and get these. So as we're ringing up, I sure hope these people don't have YouTube or watch. I don't think they'd find this video, but anyhow. So as we're being rung up, and the store is actually about to close. I have a nasty habit of showing up at places like right before they're going to close. So, but not overstaying my welcome. And they're right about to close. We're the only people there. And as we're ringing up, the old man who owns, I guess, the place, I haven't actually introduced my name or gotten his, but we are always chatting. So I'll have to do this next time. I believe he introduced himself to my husband, but I don't recall. So, and we usually all go together. Now, caveat, before I get into the ringing up of things and the conversation that came from that, I almost never go to these places without my husband. And not because I'm afraid or anything like that, but I am very aware of where I live. I'm very aware of how this country works. I think in light of recent political events and the way things are coming out, we all know how people feel. And so it's almost like extra insurance having him around, because, I mean, of course, I love my husband, but he happens to also be very white passing. Surprises me because I can see, he's a Puerto Rican man, Puerto Rican American. He wasn't born on the island or anything, but, completely Puerto Rican by ancestry. However, among every white person we've ever come across, they always think he's white. Usually some sort of Greek or Italian, sometimes Jewish, but they always think he's some kind of white person. I think that's largely to do with the fact that he has white skin, freckles, and a very red beard. So he fits in with a lot of these white guys and straight hair, all that kind of thing. So, and that's actually surprising when you get into DNA, because he's not even 70% European, but it completely took over. So I like having him around when we go to these rural places and everyone's white. So we're there together, of course, and we're ringing out. And the man is talking, and he goes to close the door for closing. And, no big deal. We've been here a few times, and several times, and chatted up, and, So he goes to me, he goes, so I know that you like politically incorrect things. And already in my head, I'm like, oh boy, where is this about to go? So he goes, so I've been holding on to this, and I don't really know what to do with it. And I thought you'd be the perfect person to show this to. And I was like, oh, okay, let's see. I'm excited. I'm getting into collectibles, and this feels like a rite of passage, something nobody else gets to see, something hidden. Okay. I feel like I'm on Antiques Roadshow or like American Pickers or something, getting to do some inside work. So I'm like, all right, cool. Let's see what this is. I'm in no rush. No big deal. This man proceeds to come out from the back room, and at this point it's just him and the other old white man there, and me and my husband. And he comes out with this newspaper. And at first I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can't really tell what's going on at first. It's a 100-year-old newspaper. It's not in the best shape, but it's actually pretty decent considering. So I'm looking, and then I see the Klansman in the corner. And he says that, oh, this is the Patriot. This was a Ku Klux Klan paper. And it was from like 1923, this particular issue. And we did a little research together. And he was telling me, it's pretty much the only copy. It's the only copy. The Library of Congress doesn't have it. There's only 2 copies of this particular publication at all held in libraries in America. And neither one have this particular paper. And he said that he had found it doing some clearing out of old properties, to get the antiques into the shop. They do that a lot. And he had gotten some old furniture, and when he opened the drawer, here was this old Klan paper. And I'm in my head, I swear, it's like a 5-alarm fire every time, because it's like, oh boy, what are they thinking? What do they see me? Or I don't know. So, because I never understand how... And the thing is, when they talk to me, it's never this like, oh, I hope I'm not offending you, or, I hope this is okay. Never that. Never some sort of an admission or acknowledgement that I'm a person of color, or that I might be part black, and that I might not like seeing this sort of thing, which I'm a student of history, so I'm not easily offended by much of anything. And like I said, I collect Black Americana. Now, this is a little outside of my wheelhouse because I don't collect anything from the Klan, but I was intrigued by the idea of this rare publication. And I was even more intrigued that this man was showing this to me. And in fact, he had said that he had been saving it, and I was just the perfect person and whatnot. And we were talking actually for a really long time. And I mean, we were in that store for almost an hour after they closed, and it gets more interesting because first it starts with the paper, and he's talking about the Klan and how they've been local in the area, and the laundry list of folks these people don't like, and how he's not about propagating this sort of thing, but he's a fan of history too, and that sort of thing. And I was like, okay, in my head, just like, where is this going? So, and I mentioned, in our talking, I was like, wondering if this would ring a bell or anything. I was like, most people who collect Black Americana, which he didn't call it, he just said, politically incorrect things, which I'm not sure what that was about. But I was like, most of the people who collect are Black, actually. And he just said, oh yeah, they usually are. And I'm thinking, do you think I'm not, or not part? I don't know. But basically then the conversation gets interesting, because then he starts talking about the other racist things that he gets sometimes, and how one time in their store that they had, he said they were original Nazi. I don't want to get, I'm not monetized or anything, but I don't want to get these videos taken off. But, I don't know. I don't believe in covering up real historical groups and things. It's real stuff. So the point is, he was talking about how he had these Nazi flags from the old, Nazi SS marches in Germany pre-war, and how these banners were like 30 feet, just huge. And he said he had 2 of them in that store. And then the man proceeds to Zig Heil, which I was shocked. I don't know if he was expecting us to do it too or something. All we could do is kind of just uncomfortably laugh, but not be too uncomfortable, because it's like, you got to really be the incog in the Incognegro. These are always such interesting interactions, because he's laughing. He's just having a jovial time, joking around, zig heiling, talking about all this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, what does this man think we are? And what, like my husband pays, when we go. And his last name is quite Latin. So I'm not sure if this man just doesn't look at the name on the card ever, that would shock me, because small town people are nosy. So I don't know. Or I don't know if if it doesn't even register, because they just look at him and they're like, oh, he's a redhead with white skin and freckles and stuff. This must be an adoption. I don't know. So, and then I don't know what they think of me, because as you can see from my Avi, I'm not exactly super white presenting at all. My hair is rather curly. However, there's a lady who works at this same store who is white, and her hair is similar, very similar to mine. So I'm not sure if they think I'm just some kind of swarthy white like her, or what, I don't know. But it got a little awkward for me, because it's always this sort of, like that meme with the kid on the bus, and he's like, I'm in danger. Because it's like, everybody has guns around here, and oh boy, we're locked in this store. But it seemed like it was on this hush hush, we're on the same team, wink wink, right, ha ha. And I was very confused, because very John Travolta meme, like looking around, like, what do you mean? We are not the same here. But yeah, I have a lot of these sorts of stories where it's just like, I have no idea what's going on right now, because I see myself in the mirror, and I thought you could see me too, but I guess not. I don't know what's going on here. My tales, and here's the thing, this is probably the most mild one I've got. I've got some really nerve-wracking ones where I'm surrounded by violent racists, and for some reason they don't know, and they're just regaling me with insane stories, and I'm just, oh boy, nodding along, trying to make my exit before I'm found out. But it's certainly food for thought, because this is part of the unique experience that a lot of folks just don't understand. And I talk about this sort of thing with my Black family, and here's the crazy part. I took 3 Black, very Black family members of mine to this exact store, like a few months back, just to show them my favorite antique shop. And I introduced them, because this man, he likes us a lot, and he greets us. He's like, oh, it's my friends from, up there and whatnot. I'm not going to give away locations right now, but and he was like, what's going on here? And I said, oh, I brought family with me for the holiday and blah blah blah. So I don't know if he, I don't know what, because how do you hear me say that these people are family, but then I don't know, you think I'm non-black enough that I'd be interested in a Klan paper? I don't know. Stuff's weird. So I told those exact family members, I was like, you remember that store? You wouldn't believe what happened. And they were like, I don't think they know. I really don't think they know. And so we talk about these things, and I almost kind of feel like Walter White sometimes, and I'm nowhere near as white as that guy, so I'm not sure what's in the water these days that I don't know how I'm having the same experiences as this man, but I definitely slip in and out of these crowds, and I get this firsthand look into racism in the underbelly of America, or in the middle of America, or just in the heartland, that a lot of folks just think is gone, or they think is, I don't know. But I have firsthand experience that when they want to shut the door and whisper, they certainly have some things to whisper about, or they'll zig heil and laugh. I don't know. But, and he was even going on about how somebody wrote him an angry letter about having those huge swastika banners, and he was like, talking about, oh, they're so sensitive, and laughing. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness. It's a precarious position to be in. But this is why I feel that other light-skinned, like African Americans who don't look ambiguous but are just light-skinned, like, they have no idea what this is like. Now, I cover most of my facial features just because I have other things going on and I don't necessarily want to be recognized. But the rest of my facial features are very ambiguous. I have a very small and thin nose, thinner lips, very European-influenced facial features. However, I'm also, I think, anyway, very ambiguous. But that's definitely a defining line. And this is why the color conversation is not enough. Because complexion is one thing. Features are a whole other. And same with hair texture, that goes in. And a lot of folks don't understand that really what makes you ambiguous is less the color, because I'm not the whitest around at all. I'm light enough for the blue of my veins to show through, but not on my whole body, only on certain parts. And I tan quite beautifully in the summer. So whenever I have been confused for white, it's never super white. It's only been like Italian, but it's a different world. And a lot of folks, I think, would be so surprised at just how much is really bubbling under the surface. But then again, with this latest election and some of the things coming out in the news, I think a lot more people are more aware now. They realize that a lot more has been simmering under the surface than had been revealed previously. And I had all my life firsthand experience with this, because I swear whenever all the actual black people were gone and they thought that they were only among whites or, ambiguous white adjacents, they really let it out. And it's a tough position to be in, because it's like, do you play freedom fighter and wear the cape and stand up for the black community all the time, even though they don't really accept you like that? And for me, no, I won't. I won't wear the cape. I won't. I have dealt too much with conditional membership from the black community. Too much will take credit for your achievements, but the minute you want to talk about your woes or speak for us, well, you're not really a part of us, so you really can't speak on it. Oh, but I can achieve things for you. That's great. So I'm kind of out of that. Really, I'm not interested in that. And also, people have to understand the reality of what it's like to have to actually live and work with people who have these opinions. Are you really going to cause a fuss and make it so that your family catches bullets that weren't even meant for you? Why would you do that? I have kids. Why am I going to do that? That's silly. Why am I going to make life hard for everyone? Sticking my neck out all the time for every black issue. That's foolish. That's foolish. A great example I saw was, and this is a little bit of a segue, but just as to why I don't speak up is when BLM was first in its upswing, like in 2020, I remember a headline picture. I think I saw it on Reddit or something. I'm not sure. But a young mixed woman, Latina, I think she was a Latina, very, ambiguous looking. And her forehead was just about blasted open from a rubber bullet. It said it was a rubber bullet. That was some crazy ass rubber. I don't know. It was a gaping, horrifying wound. And she was alive, but she will, of course, be disfigured. And I thought to myself, wow, you really wrecked yourself for the cause of black people. But then here it is now with Latinos getting a lot of heat. And I'm not seeing black people put themselves on the line like that. I'm not seeing. Now, as far as the illegal issue, I'm not even talking about that because all countries have laws about when people can come in and when they can't. And if everybody else has laws, why shouldn't we? And why should people be allowed to pretend that they don't exist? So it's not even about the illegal immigration issue or anything like that. Just general Latin issues. And when Latin people are speaking up and just seeing the callous disregard from most of the black community made me realize there's just really no point in sticking your neck out for a community that will not do the same for you. And so, not even gonna lie, listen, sometimes I'm uncomfortable on the inside because, once again, I feel incognegro. I feel like I can see it, and I'm wondering if you can see it. And it makes me a little nervous about where this conversation might be going. But I'm not bothered enough to actually put up the fist and put on the cape. There's just no point. There's almost no black people here anyway. What would I be doing? Once again, catching bullets not even meant for me and putting my family on the line. So no, we don't say anything. And yes, we laugh along, even if it's uncomfortable a little on the inside, because we see these people a lot. And what is that even? What is the point of making a big muss and fuss? I'm not an activist. Nobody's going to know. And in the end, it's just going to make life harder. So I let people speak. I'm a bit of an observer. And I think that's powerful in its own way. Because when you talk less and you listen more, you get a lot more information that way. And I've been able to glean a lot about what's going on and about what's really in people's minds and hearts based on that alone. So yeah, this is just stuff that light-skinned Black Americans and people who aren't blue veins, and that's the thing, once again, it's not just color, because the Blue Vein Society and all that in the past, it wasn't, remember in my video I mentioned this, it wasn't just about color. They had hair tests, they had, the whole pencil thing, the comb test, and also facial features. It was definitely about making sure, that ambiguity was kept in line. And only people who have that truly ambiguous appearance would know what this is like. And I have, oh my God, so many stories. So I'm glad I'm actually going to make this a series. And I was struggling a little bit with what to talk about. And when this happened, I said, okay, I might as well, because this sort of thing just keeps happening. So, just more to come, really. And if any of you have had those sorts of experiences, that incognegro experience that, unsettling experience of just knowing who you are, but knowing they don't know, and just nervously hoping the shoe doesn't drop because you don't know what these people may or may not want to do about that. Yeah, if you have that experience, or, know what that's like, or even not when it's dangerous, even when it's just casually racist in passing, and you're just not sure, like, what was that just happened? Did they think, only you guys would understand. And I mean, it goes into everything, little privileges too, all of it, from people treating you nicer with customer service than your darker family, or not serving them at all. Just all kinds of random things, talk about it, get in the comments, let me know, because I know I'm not the only one. I mean, that sort of idea of like a covering, except you're not actually wearing a covering, you're just wearing your own skin. The covering is more society's notions and what they believe about you. Navigating that, let me know, because I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm far from the only one. Movies like Passing and stuff, that I love that book. And the casting with the movie was so, but those sorts of stories are really, they really hit close to home for me, because that has been a major part of my life, is just straddling the color line and people's reactions to me based on that. And I actually think a lot of Black Americans, and I kind of play this role in my family, kind of like the relay. I tell them all the things so that they kind of know what's going on out here. But I think a lot of Black Americans would be saddened, but not necessarily shocked, by just how pervasive and how constant this sort of thing really is, especially outside of the liberal cities and centers. And realizing how vast the rest of America is, and how much this sentiment really takes over once you're outside of the cities, that's when you can kind of put it together as to how politically things are the way they are, because they really were a silent majority, and they really do stay silent unless they know or think that you are one of them. And it has just been very enlightening, very wild too, because I swear sometimes I just never know what I'm going to see. Now, I'm debating if I should put a picture of this paper in or not. I don't want anything to identify anything. But as far as I know, this old man has not listed a thing, or I don't know. So I might just put at least maybe the top part, the snippet, so that you can see what he showed me. And in fact, he was like, take pictures of it. And, he's very interested in doing business with me about this paper. And I'm very pulled about whether I want it at all. So I don't know, weigh in on that even. Should I get it? Should I not? Part of me is thinking yes, because it is, from a collector's standpoint, something that is a one of a kind and not held anywhere else. That's tempting, especially if I ever plan on trying to make any money off of my collection, Then again, ephemera is not really my forte. I don't usually do paper collectibles, so I have no real idea. I've got to do a bit more research, but let me know. Should I take it? Should I leave it? He's holding on to it for me, and I don't know. I let him know, please, do some restoring, put it in some plastic or something, because it's going to fall apart, but I'll get back to you. So, I don't know. Blue Veins and fellow fans of the channel, you let me know your experiences, your thoughts about any of this being Incognegro, whether I should keep the paper or not, or buy it rather, since he's holding it. Just any of it. Get in the comments, let me know. Like, share, subscribe, help me out. So, talk to you soon, and hopefully sooner this time.